So ultimately, a lot of it comes down to counters. Okay, so like for instance on Ultimate, yes, a
Mm-hmm.
huge factor was T9 versus T11, but had I just used one APC of T11, I would not have got through to him because his counter would have still stopped the one I used. Now, as most people know,
Mm-hmm.
vehicles are countered by shooters. Shooters are countered by fighters. Fighters are countered by vehicles. Okay. So these are
Yes.
big things to know when attacking tiles or bases. If they have a fighter APC out there, generally speaking, now it still can depend on which vehicle APC you use to break that fighter one. Some are generally better than others, but I won't get into details of every APC setup and every combo. I'm just going to keep it simplified with, the three combos. But if there's a fighter APC that is sitting on that tile, and I know that, I'm going to send a vehicle APC, generally speaking. Now to Ultimate. Ultimate was using the Skull APC, which is a shooter APC for his defense queue, or at least the
Mm-hmm.
first in line, I should say. So what I would do is I would time APCs to not hit directly the exact split second, but to still hit within or less than 1 second of each other. Meaning,
Okay.
so he had shooters to begin with. I would have my fighter APC crash his base first. Boom. That immediately drops his shooter APC down. So then my vehicle APC can then pass through because again, his shooters would combo my vehicle or counter. I meant not combo. His shooters would counter my vehicle. But if their shooter APC is broken half, it's not going to stop as effectively, and I can move through. So then now my fire APC is going as far as it can go before it stopped, has taken out two or three of his APCs. Now my vehicle can come in past the counter APCs, and then at that point effectively go through the rest of his base.
Okay. So
Now again,
yeah.
T9 versus T11 helped, but T9 can still stop T11 with effective counters, though.
Yeah. So like many people they have understood and try and manage to time it like synchronizing the APC so all the APC arrive at the same time. But you say on top of that, on top of this synchronizing APC, you are not exactly synchronizing, but you are sending them so they hit in order to counter all the APCs inside the base that you have identified before.
Exactly, because it's not all about hitting at the same time. Because you send
Mm-hmm.
three at the same time. Well, if he's got a shooter APC as his first APC, and your vehicle APC that could essentially do a buttload of damage to his base, it's stopped if that's the first one that hits on your three-timed or two-timed APC attack. That's stopped immediately, rendering ineffective. Well, then next thing you know, your fighter APC hits and only goes through half the base.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you don't want to spread your APCs to hit more than a second a piece because they can just sit there
They
just
can
smashing auto
refill.
deploy and they're
Yeah.
refilling. So you still want all your APCs to hit within a split second of each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's luck, getting that split second. Sometimes you may have to send a few times to get that exact order. But
Mm-hmm.
essentially it's knowing his setup. And like when I broke Ultimate, I had to hit him a handful of times to see his order of APCs, at least the first two or three, before I knew how I could at least hopefully effectively counter him. And I ended up breaking him, I think, that night, like two, maybe four times, I think, when he was sitting there. I couldn't, unfortunately, zero him. I ran out of T11s. And, again, he's a stronger base than me. So my T9s just really weren't going to go and break his, even
Mm-hmm.
with counters being used to fully go through the entire base. But yeah, counters are huge, and then stacking your counters split second of each other to effectively get through the base. That's where scouting really comes into handy. A lot of people still they'll use anti-scout, but a lot of people don't understand the true effect of scouting a base still, because if you want to
Uh-huh.
break that base, it's huge to know the lineup of that base.